Hello, everybody. I think I am live now. Yay! Hi, this is Rocío. I am one of the group moderators in this group, and I am in this group. I was just about to go live somewhere else, which was kind of funny. I'm also a resident writing coach for Kathy Masek's team. And if you're listening live, please go ahead and let me know where you're tuning in from. I think I should be able to see the comments. But if you're watching the replay, please let us know that you are watching by putting a hashtag team replay down in the comments, and that way we know who actually took the time to watch this. Thank you so much for that, by the way. Today I'm going to talk about something that I have been thinking a lot about, and I titled it The R&R of Mindset, and one example of how that can fuel our own writing. And I actually started with three examples, but it was too much information. And so yeah, I'm still going live. Sorry, I was just checking. So I started with three examples, but then I have to cut it because it was too much information. So let's get started with this. I'm a geoscientist. My field is, I'm a geologist by training, and so I have this analytical, scientific perspective of things, like many of you probably watching. And when I first started listening and hearing all these things about mindset, I would get my skeptical antennas up and kind of like ready to start taking things apart. And so, of course, as one of those skeptics, the first thing that I started doing was to start, try to be open, listen, read a little more and read a little more. And so that's how my journey in all things mindset got started. Side note, I am a big fan of growth mindset, and I'm still learning a lot about this because, its own field. So for this level up life, I wanted to share at least one example of how mindset can benefit our own writing. So, to do that, why don't we go ahead and start dissecting this theme? The first thing that we want to address is mindset and what it means and all these things. And so, let me start by saying that mindset um, it's a broad topic, and there's a great deal of variation in terms of how, people who study this on how to define it, the types of mindset, how to measure them, how to conceptualize them, etc. And so, for this level up life, at least, I wanted to have some common ground and just mention that it, kind of like broadly define it as all of those things beliefs, assumptions, methods, behaviors, anything that can act as a lens through which we see and react to a specific activity. Something else that I wanted to say is that, and you actually probably have heard Kathy talk about this and say the same thing, is that mindset is both our greatest asset, but also our greatest roadblock. And so what this means is that it's the kind of thing that we need to continually work on. We need to reflect, allow the time for that reflection. We need to implement, we need to revise, we need to rinse, repeat. So that is the one thing that I wanted to make sure I address. The other thing is to define R and R of mindset, because you think R and R, you may think of revise and resubmit. That's not it. This is actually something else. And let me just say that let me start by saying that it requires being critical, but also listening to our inner voice. And that could also mean sometimes listening to our inner mentor, which is slightly different. And so the first R for our, oh, wait, I don't have, yeah, my light is okay. Sorry, it looks a little dark. The first R is for recognize. And that means that we want to have awareness of those beliefs, assumptions, methods, behaviors that we activate in response to a specific task. The second R in this R and R mindset is the release. And sometimes, yeah, it means let it go, but not before appreciating, fully appreciating our mindset in that, related to that specific activity. And then we can let it go. And fully appreciating a specific way of, all of these beliefs and assumptions and things that we have in relationship to a specific activity, we have to remember that no matter how we release this mindset, we're asked, and we have to remember to remind ourselves that we need action. And so, with the rest of our time, I'm going to cover one specific example. And as I told you earlier, I started with three. That was too many. So just going to zoom into one. And it's a common negative mindset that actually hurts our writing. And I wanted to use the negative example to turn it into a positive one so that it can help us along the way improve our productivity. But most importantly, I feel that the way this example and any others that I probably will give you in other lives is that it helps us improve our relationship with our own writing. So let's jump into this one example of R&R of mindset and how it can fuel our writing. And another side note, because if you are in one of our programs called Navigate, some of this information and some other examples that I thought about sharing, but I can't because I don't have time, are going to be related to Module 7 of your course. So let's cover the R&R example number one that is called, I labeled guilt. And of course, we all feel this, once in a while, sometimes more often than not. And not only related to writing and work, but if you ever have felt like you need to work 24/7, if you have ever felt guilty for not working the day that you decided you're going to rest, if you feel guilty about holding space for that rest and recovery to happen, this is for you. This is for us. The first R is to recognize, as we saw. And the first thing to recognize is that working 24/7 is just impossible. And that is something that we shouldn't even be thinking about. And we know it despite this culture that we see sometimes normalized in our academic environments. And so we need the time to restore and be able to create. We in our program, or actually in most of our programs for Kathy's work, we have a ton of resources that relate to various parts of this particular roadblock that we have and how to address it, gives us tools. So if you're in a programs, dig in, let me know which ones you're in, and I can tell you what videos to look up and what activities. But if you're not in one of our programs yet, Kathy has also shared a lot of free information via her podcast, her website, and even the Facebook page. So at the end of this live, I'm going to link some resources down at the bottom. The second R for the R&R is release, right? And so as we prepare to release this guilt, per se, we have to remember that we are called to have action in order to actually get over that guilt, right? So the first thing, and I'm going to list a few action items. Those are not the only ones, but this is a short life. And so the first one is to set realistic, smart goals. We need to focus also in the process, perhaps via intentions. And that will be another theme for another whole Level Up Life, at least, on how to set intentions. And we want to focus in that process as much as we focus on the actual final goal. Also, we want to start setting milestones along the way to a specific goal. And that way we can achieve some of those smaller goals, achieve some of those milestones, foster that sense of pride, that the good, healthy relationship that we have with ourselves in feeling happy because we're making progress while not working 24/7, because it's gonna be almost like a feedback loop. So one tool that I wanted to mention that can help us figure out how to get rid of this guilt, how to allocate our time, where, the things that matter. When can I write based on all the things that we need to do and all the things that I want to do? And so one of those tools is called the Ideal Week. In our programs, you get plenty of assistance in using this tool in various shapes and forms through the programs. But for those of you not in the programs yet, there's also a ton of information that we've put out as a team that relates to this. And Kathy has a full episode on this actually. So I'm going to put, again, more information down at the bottom in the comments. And at the core of this example that I just shared with you, the guilt example, is that we need to reframe our, and mindset, because we need to really value our time. We need to really value our per hour worth. We need to realize that in many ways, we can control where our time goes. And then we can use writing, and this is where more of the mindset change comes into play. Is that we can reframe our thinking of writing and use it as self-care also. So reframing our mindset to see writing as self-care or self-maintenance, like I prefer to call it, is going to allow us to see that we're not only spending time on improving our craft, on doing our job, because it is an essential part of academia, but we're also investing time in ourselves because we need to share our voice with the world. And it's also going to, again, go into this feedback loop of feeling pride, having a good relationship, rinse, repeat. So before I summarize, I want to repeat two things. The first one is that, as I said, mindset is one of our greatest assets, but also is one of our greatest roadblocks. And that means that it needs to be worked on constantly. We need to implement, we need to reflect, we need to revise, rinse, repeat. And all of that goes tied to time. So we need to make sure that we make that space, hold that space so that we can do this kind of deep work. The second thing that I wanted to repeat is that with this example that I covered today, again, one of the three that I really wanted to cover because I figured I was going to blow the time. um, yeah, sure, we're trying to improve our productivity, we're trying to be more efficient with our time, but what I think is the most important thing is that it's going to help us improve and, yeah, I guess improve our relationship with our writing so that we can actually sustain the careers that we both want for our lives and for our careers themselves. So in this short live, we talked about the R&R of mindset, and I covered one specific example of how that can fuel our writing itself. We talked about what R&R means in this context, which is R&R, recognize and release, not just revise and resubmit. We also talked about one specific example of R&R mindset related to the guilt that we experience for not working all the time, and how do we reframe our mindset with specific tools and systems. Speaking of systems, yeah, I had to do this plug because I really, really like and I really enjoy, and I am a full believer in co-writing. And so that's one of the tools that I has saved me plenty of times. I have chronic disorder, I'm a mama, I have tons of things that I need to do. Co-writing has always been there. And it's not just the system itself, it's what goes with the system. So if again, you can do this in co-writing a number of ways. And actually, I have a Level Up Life that talks about co-writing and some of these ideas on different ways to do it. But if you join our Momentum community, that's the, what do you call it? The secret weapon in there, the community part of it. Because you can take advantage of the co-writing and gain access to, special client-only events and all sorts of surprises that we include, workshops, Q&A sessions. But again, the magical component is going to be community. And I feel like that's something that can help foster our relationship with writing even more. So if you're looking for a motivated, dedicated writing group to help you keep a date with your own writing, almost like keep a date with yourself, so that you can set and meet quite a few of your goals, then you should consider joining Momentum, our co-writing membership. Now, in Momentum, we write together over Zoom, and by now we're probably, most of us are very much in tune with Zoom, but we have set times where, there's a coach that comes in and leads the meetings. We also have off session times when the coaches are not leading those sessions so that you can actually jump in with your momentum buddies and so write together, set more goals, and continue with your own writing journey. So join now, and this is something important to gain access to our pre-writing workshop that is actually happening this Thursday. And also, that is in preparation to our writing sprint that is going to start this coming Monday. So chop chop, we're gonna have to get in. And also, surprise, there's going to be a surprise announced this afternoon in our writing momentum community. So join now so you can actually get it. And of course, you get the replay once you join, but it's more exciting if you do it live. So join us now. And if you're not sure how to join, no problem. Just send us an email at writing@kathymasak.com. And I will put again that email address and a bunch of all the links that I promised down below in the comments. I will see you next time. Be safe, be well, and have a wonderful rest of the day. And I'm going to end this live. Bye bye.